Hello, Steve Conley here for It's About Belief and it'saboutbelief.com. You know, there are most of the people on the planet don't have a clue as to what is going on in terms of it's just a reflection. So the planet for each of us is nothing more than a reflection of our thoughts and our feelings. Most people live their lives totally unaware of this. The fact that you're watching this video or any other videos in this category means that you're aware of what's going on, or at least working on it, or maybe you're deep into it. I don't know, but congratulations in either case. Now, you may be at the beginning of this where it's kind of exciting and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe this really works this way. Or maybe you're in the middle somewhere where you're saying, oh crap, I can't believe this really works this way. Or maybe you're coming, coming full circle somewhat and saying, wow, holy crap, and oh wow, I can't believe it really works this way altogether, which means you appreciate all the contrast that comes along with all the good stuff, because the contrast is what creates the good stuff. But all that said, what I wanted to do was just talk to the whole group here. And so I know that most people who watch this type of thing are watchers and listeners and maybe knowers, but you're really not going to know until you actually start to try this out. I mean, actually do the work. And the work is when you imagine something with intent. And when I say intent, you're not necessarily pushing it to try to create it, but you're intentionally imagining what you want over what you don't want. That's the whole key to this whole thing. And you do it easily, without any kind of resistance, without any kind of doubt. And that is the law of attraction. And so I want to talk about that for a while today. Now, in the past, I sort of started noticing these things really quite early on, and maybe really young. I don't remember too much about that, but certainly when I was in my teens and I was going to school, going to college, and I started really, and actually before that, in high school, I started thinking about certain things, and then I would notice that they would show up. Just a couple of really quick examples is I would listen to the radio, and I said, wow, wouldn't it be really cool if they had more parodies of people talking like other people and doing little skits and stuff like that? Honestly, it didn't take very long before that started showing up a lot. And I said, wow, these guys are in alignment with me. I didn't really understand how much I was really being in alignment with the rest of the universe and bringing that particular picture into view, because that's what I had requested, okay? And that's what was really going on. I did not recognize it at that point. Now, another thing that I had thought about that same time, I was probably, 15, 16, 17, in that range. Another thing I thought about was, I said, wow, wouldn't it be nice if cars would come out with, more instruments on the instrument panel, because they were pretty simple. It was basically a speedometer and lights, what we used to call idiot lights, where the oil pressure light would come on or the temperature light would come on, but there weren't any gauges there to tell you what was happening on your dashboard. And also the radio was like an AM radio. You turn it on, it had the volume right there on the one switch and then the buttons, and that was pretty much it. And I was thinking, man, wouldn't it be nice if we had a lot more gauges, a lot more lights, and a lot more options on the audio systems, and just, better information, better control, more options. And the very next year, that started to happen a lot. I mean, it was like, wow, this is just what I asked for. I didn't call up the manufacturers and say this is what we needed or anything. And again, what I was thinking there was, I was thinking that the universe was responding to me instead of me really just lining up what was already here. Now, what I mean by that is I'm bringing in the no time factor into this equation. There's no such thing as time. And I do have a video series that's coming out really soon called Mastery of Time. It is not, you be getting better at controlling your time. That's impossible, because there is no time. The reason everybody's short on time is because time doesn't exist. So you're always short on time because it's not here. It's part of the time, space, ego illusion that we quote unquote live in this, virtual reality universe that we live in. So there is no time. That means everything that you can possibly imagine exists now, right this moment, in this now. And then we just bounce to the next now, the next event, creating the illusion of time. I'm hoping that makes some sense. And if it doesn't, that's okay. It took me quite a while to sort of get acclimated to the idea that there was really no time. And and still, it's really necessary to have that illusion of time, because we cannot experience it all at once. But it's really handy to know this is the way the universe is built when you're wanting to see the next thing within your own illusion of time, if you will. Okay? Einstein said it best. He said, time was created so that we would not get overwhelmed with having everything, all the experiences at once. We needed to have them all spread out. Obviously, I paraphrased that because I don't remember exactly what he said. But look it up if you need to know exactly what it was. So now the next thing that I kind of noticed was I had this car back in, I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter when it was, right? So I had this car, and it was giving me some problems. And I was a teenager, and it had some electrical problems, and it was going in the shop fairly often. And I'm thinking, I am, really kind of frustrated with this. And of course, I didn't understand that I could have fixed it by focusing my attention on what I might prefer, which is the issue being resolved, and seeing myself in that car with all the electrical issues, done and over with and fixed. And it was really just one issue that kept repeating itself over and over again. And so I'm thinking, instead of thinking about that, because I just didn't know what I didn't know, and that's true of all of us, is my idea instead was to have it go to the repair shop and maybe have it totaled out in the repair shop, and then they call me up and then they pay for it, or the insurance company pays for it. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in just a second. But I had gone through the process of noticing that, my insurance company would give me what I want for it, but I couldn't sell it on the open market and get the amount of money that I needed to pay off the loan and have something left over. And I didn't want to sell it on the open market because it had these electrical issues. So that left me with one option, which was to have the insurance company buy it from me. Now, I didn't really want to be in an accident myself. So what I had come up with, okay, it's got to get crashed in the repair shop, with nobody in it, nobody gets hurt. And so that was my idea. So as the situation dictated, the car ended up in the shop again. And so it was in the shop, and it was in over the weekend. And then on Monday morning, kind of late Monday, I got a call from the repair shop. And so the manager of the shop says to me, he starts out with, "Well, Steve, we got a little problem with your car." And I said, "Okay, here we go again." Like, what else? He said, "Well, it's probably not what you think." And I said, "Okay, I'm listening." He said, "Well, we had a pickup truck in the shop that was in front of your car. And the pickup truck was on some kind of a ramp that, they were testing it for speed and so forth. And anyway, it got away from them in the repair shop, and it was right in front of my car. So it hit my car while it was on in there, and it pushed my car along with the truck out of the door and into the parking lot." Now, this was during the winter months. It was in January. That door that my car was pushed out of was closed. It was one of those big roll-up doors, and it was pushed through the door, that closed door, and into the parking lot and into a dump truck. I said, "Well," I said, "how bad is it?" And he said, oh, your car's totaled. No question about it. And I said, "Well, maybe I should come look at it." He said, "Nah, don't bother. It's totaled." And now he said, "Here's what's going to happen." He said, we're taking care of everything. We're going to get you a rental car. So make arrangements to come down here sometime this afternoon and pick up your rental car. We're paying for that. You don't have anything to worry about. It's going to take a little time for the insurance company to come out and adjust it. That's why we're getting you the rental car. And so when we get finished with all that, then you'll come back, turn the rental car in, and we'll pay you for your car. And that's exactly what happened. It took them about 30 days. So I had a rental car for a month. Didn't have to worry about paying for anything. They took care of everything. Of course, I had to put gas in it. But that was fantastic. And then about a month later, they came and paid for my car. And then I turned my rental car in, and I went and bought another one. Now, that was freaky. If you really want to think about it, it was pretty freaky because it was almost exactly what I had thought about would happen and had to happen and needed to happen in order to get that car out of my life. Now, again, I really did not make the connection. And time went on, and I got kind of away from the idea of being able to think about things and have them happen. Now, that didn't mean that things weren't happening that I was thinking about, positive and negative. And it took a couple of decades before I started really putting this stuff together. And it really, I'd seen some evidence of it. I just didn't understand it. And honestly, that's the way most of the people on the planet are right now. They're still that way. The fact that you're watching this, you're probably way deep into already how all things work. Now, I've had another 20 years of really working on this whole idea and the processes and created some pretty unique ideas and products. One of them is called Belief Ideas, your daily belief idea that I send out every day. And it's about things that I notice as I'm going through my days, bringing in all of the stuff that I've learned from everybody that's out there that I can think of, including of course, the ones you're going to recognize, like Abraham Hicks and Joe Vitale and Eckhart Tolle, Maxwell Maltz. Now, I was reading Maxwell Maltz when I was 9 years old, Psycho-Cybernetics. And then I was also reading How to Increase Your ESP and the UFOs and self-hypnosis books when I was 9. And so I was kind of brought up in an environment that was a little bit outside the box. And at the same time, really not a strict or any kind of religious upbringing to speak of. No dogma that I would necessarily be, clamped down into, like strict Catholic or strict Protestant or any of that kind of thing. As a matter of fact, when people are talking about their religious background, I say, yeah, I kind of know what you mean. I was brought up as Southern agnostic. And, I do that kind of to break the state, because they're thinking I'm going to say Southern Baptist or Southern something, Southern religion of some kind. But no, I wasn't. So I really was free in my mind and my thinking not to be tied down to that kind of dogma and the thinking that goes along with it. So I've come up with the daily belief ideas, which I send out every day. You can sign up for those at itsaboutbelief.com. And in the meantime, I wrote a book called 50 Belief Ideas to Increase Your Power. That is on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon. You can go to itsaboutbelief.com and buy it there if you wish. It's a lot easier for me if you just go to Amazon and buy it right there. Now, the belief ideas is a pretty cool idea. And in that book, there is a lot of information in a very short amount of verbiage, not much words. But there's 8 steps to change your state of mind pretty quick and pretty easy, because your state of mind is what creates your next event that's going to show up. So if you're in a negative state of mind, the universe is going to reflect back to you something equal to that. Now, the universe isn't negative or positive. It just is. It's just a vibration. It's just a reflection. It's a reflection of what you're thinking inside is going to show up, what you're looking at, what appears to be on the outside. It's all inside, every bit of it. But for the sake of our virtual reality that we're in, it looks like it's on the outside, and we're going to experience it that way. So you want to pay attention to what you're thinking and what you're feeling. What you're thinking is what creates. What you're feeling is how closely aligned you are with what your higher self is observing as well. So, pardon me. So we're constantly thinking and feeling these things, and we should be monitoring closely. Now, you don't have to monitor too close, because all you have to do is pay attention to your feelings. If you're not feeling good, or if you're feeling frustrated, or if you're feeling negative in any way, you're angry, you're fearful, any of those things are just an indication that you're not lined up with how to best utilize the information that's being given to you by the reflection that's coming into you from your universe. So taking all this into consideration, we start to realize that maybe we have more control than we thought we did. And that's really kind of where this is going, because what you want to do is you want to be able to use all of the resources you have and learn how to be effective and proactive at creating the life you want. Isn't that really what it kind of boils down to? Create the life you want? So we all do create our own lives. The question is, are we creating the life we want? And for most of the time, because the universe is pretty well set in the positive mode, as long as you're kind of relaxed and you're watching and you're not being too negative about what's going on, you're just kind of neutral, it's going to default to positive. Positive in you're going to get fun things. Positive in your health is going to be good. Positive in you're going to get delivered relationships that support you and are reflective of what you are and what you want to be. So that's a great thing. So you can kind of relax right now, just knowing that the universe has your back. Now, getting even better at it is, so we notice these things, and now we start to say, okay, this is great information. And I'm going to watch this, and I'm going to know as much as I can about it. Guess what? That's not enough. That's called you're knowing what's going on, but you're not taking the action. That's just observing. And the knowing without the works is dead. There's no real response that the universe can give you from that. It's just that you know it. So now what do? What does that mean? Well, you have to do the experimentation. You have to put this into the action of creating an imagination of the things that you want. And then now, once you create that imagination, is you start to be aware of what shows up next. That's the work. It's not going out here and making phone calls and like what I'm doing now. This is the video, but the video is not the work. The video for me is I'm creating the new idea, and then I'm creating the imagination around that idea, and I'm putting the energy of the imagination and the thought. And the thought is what creates. It's not the emotion that creates. It's the emotion that might push it out there. The emotion that might push it out there in terms of motion. But the emotion is really just the feedback as to how good we're doing at lining up with what our higher self is thinking about what's happening on this lower vibrational level. So what I'm saying here is to get really effective and start to hone the skills is you have to go do the work, which is create the imagination of the life you like and you prefer and you want. And then monitoring that. And is it going to show up exactly like you think it's going to show up? No, it's not. Because there's way too much information that's being put out there that the universe is taking into consideration to reflect back to you, because we've been doing this for a long, long time. Even before we were born, we were doing it when we were in the womb, and we were doing it before we got into the womb. We were doing it before we had the concept of where we were going to end up as we traveled vibrationally into the womb and then into the planet, into the vibrational realm that we're in now. So what we're thinking now is only a fraction of what is already in the vibrational universe of what we're seeing around us at the moment. I hope I'm making some sense. So the idea is to put into action what you're learning now. And that learning is taking the imagination. And Neville Goddard talks about that. By the way, that was one of the other people that I wanted to mention in all this, because I'm nothing more really than a product of all the people I've listened to. And I mentioned a few of them just a few minutes ago: Abraham Hicks, Eckhart Tolle, Neville Goddard, Joe Vitale, Greg Braden, Brian Scott, who transcribes a lot of information from different people, including the Neville Goddard and a couple of others. I can't think of all the other ones, but I listen to a lot because I want a lot of different perspectives, because I'm learning as much as I possibly can about how all this works. And at the same time, as being a student, I'm doing my best to be a teacher as well, because as a teacher, I learn a lot more, because it's really important to know what you're talking about, because once you start talking about it, you say, oh, wait a minute, maybe I don't know about this as much as I thought. But when you start talking about it, you say, oh, I need more clarity myself on this particular subject. And the one thing that I've been really working on for the last couple of years and trying to get as much clarity on is, what is the definition of the work? And so I was confused about it a little bit. I thought I understood it, kind of didn't, because I had a lot of people saying, well, Steve, don't you have to get out there and go do it in the physical planet and go do these things? And I said, well, I don't know. Yes, no, I'm not sure. The bottom line is, we're here for the experience, but what is it that really creates? That was the question. And I kept hearing different things. We have to go do it. No, it's already done, because it has to be done, because it's already here in the idea that there's no time. And it's not just an idea. That's the way the universe is. It's set up. There is no time. So that means it has to be here. Well, that means it's already created. So what's the work? The work is not there. The work is lining up with it so you can see it at the vibrational level that it's on. So really what we're looking at doing is, we're just tuning our vibration to the frequency of the things that match that frequency. Did you get that? We're just tuning. And the tuning is using our imagination to create the frequency that matches with the frequency that's in our imagination. And to do that, all you do is you imagine it, and then you start acting like it, that you already have it. That's all tuning up to the vibrational frequency that matches that which is within your imagination. Now we know why it's called a tune-up, because you're raising the frequency. So with all of that said, what your job is to do is to go sign up for Belief Ideas, go buy the book. I've got a couple of other programs that you're going to really love. One of them is the 5 steps to make Law of Attraction work for you. $29.95. You're going to see it out there within our promotions in a very short amount of time. There's other things. And now, by the way, you don't have to buy any of this stuff. I've got a lot of stuff that's for free. You can figure this out for yourself. Some of the things that I give on video will fast track you. You're going to love that. But whatever you do, test this for yourself. Try it. Make sure you try it. Learn that you don't have to do the physical work, because it's all about the frequency management within your own mind. This is Steve Conley for It's About Belief. Live your life fearlessly.